Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I'm Shekhar Gupta on the outskirts of Davos, in fact, walking on a frozen lake. And my guest today, a brilliant woman who fights corruption and who tells countries around the world how to fix this one problem that's got millions and millions, in fact, billions of people angry around the world. Right. Huguette Labelle, welcome to Walk the Talk. Chair of the board of Transparency International.
Good morning. Pleased to be here.
If I may say so, Transparency International, on your rankings, we do about as badly as we certainly do in cricket these days. 3.1 out of 10.
Yes,
ridiculous.
of course. There's quite a lot of room for improvement here. And yet India is such an important country, and increasingly so as an emerging country now. So it's got to show the world what it can do.
Yeah. But have you been disappointed by the way India has addressed this, or are you encouraged by the way India has woken up?
Well, I think that, you know, in the last while, India has done a number of things, and some of the, although we need regulations, right. We need enforcement of regulations to protect people, to have a level playing field for industry, but if you have too much, right. A mountain of it is not necessarily better, because then it doesn't become enforceable. So I think a lot of work has been done in this regard under the current administration. But, you know, there's a lot of room now to really do significant governance review, governance improvement, and make sure that the citizens are free of having to pay bribes in order to gain access to essential services.
How do you describe too much of regulation?
Well, you know, I mean...
Or what do you see as too much of regulation?
Well, let me give you an example. If, in order to build a simple structure, you need several dozen permits, each time it opens the door for the possibility of asking for a bribe, or of offering a bribe, because it goes both ways. You know?
Right. But have you taken a look at some of the draft legislations that have been prepared in India?
Well, certainly, you know, in the last year, the legislation that's been in front of Parliament now for quite a while on the Ombudsman is
what we call as Lokpal.
Yeah, the Lokpal. I think is a very the need for legislation is very important, and so let's hope that Parliament will come to some conclusion on that, because you know, an ombudsman position, and a strong one, is important. Of course, it's not the only thing that will create full integrity in government and transparency. You need the governance reviews, you need the reforms in the way that government programs are administered. At the same time, you need to ensure that when something goes wrong, because it will, that there is an office that can deal with it, and which of course is not just situated in Delhi, but where they have people across the country, so that the people in even remote communities have a chance to turn to somebody. Yes, to turn to this agency if they've been asked for a bribe in order to get a license, which they should not have to pay, or to gain access to school or to health services.
So basically improve governance to bring in transparency. And that will minimize corruption.
Absolutely. It's a very strong deterrent, and it empowers the people, because then they have the information to hold their local government accountable.
What's a bigger deterrent? Governance reform on a scale of 10, or a very strong punitive structure?
Well, I think you need both. You need strong reforms in government, so that, you know, you are able to eliminate to close to 100% the bribery that takes place, the poor administration. But at the same time, there will always be rogue people in our administrations. And that's where you need the equivalent of an anti-corruption commission or an ombudsman, so that the people have the chance to go to the, you know, if there's extortion, if they're being asked to pay a bribe to put their child in school or to get their child vaccinated, that they can turn to somebody and of authority.
Can you give me examples of countries where the ombudsman system has worked very well?
Well, I think that it has worked in a number of countries. I'm thinking, for example, in Central and Eastern Europe, where after the fall of the Soviet Union, you know, the discovery of how much corruption there was in many of the administration, and some of those countries have given themselves some strong institutions, and, you know, they're doing much better than they ever have before.
Do you also have examples where it hasn't worked or where it may have gone wrong?
Well, you know, I don't think I can give you examples of what's gone wrong in terms of a specific issue like the ombudsman. But I think that what happens very often is that a government comes into power with a strong mandate that they've given themselves to fight corruption. That's why the people elected them.
Right.
And then when they arrive in power, nothing happens. Or it happens, you know, they do a number of major initiatives over the first year, and then because corruption is so systemic sometimes, you know, it's infiltrated the government.
Right.
And the outside lobbyists that have supported financially, very often, individuals to be candidates to become elected are
that
at
sounds
play.
like the story of our politics to me sometimes.
Well, of a number of countries. So that, you know, then what happens is after a year or two, those pressures become so strong that those elected stop implementing the agenda that they had given themselves. And that's when people get very unhappy. They begin to mistrust their government. They have, you know, the confidence in the government goes down. So I think governments do that at their own peril.
The NDTV News app had redefined the entire genre. Now, another market beater. It's already hit #1.
NDTV Profit, India's #1 finance app. Download free at ndtvprofit.com/apps. Live stream of NDTV Profit, market news, and your easy-to-manage portfolio. Download now, ndtvprofit.com/apps.